Welcome to the fourth video in our introduction to selling on eBay, setting up your first auction. In this video, I'm going to talk you through setting up your first auction. I won't go into too much detail at this stage because the actual process is very straightforward. But as we go through this, you'll see that there is quite a bit of detail that we can expand on. But I'll come to that later. For now, though, I want to give you an overview of how the process of setting up an auction works. By the time you set up an auction, depending on when you view this video, things may look slightly different because eBay regularly changes its interface. But I imagine that the concepts will be pretty similar even if you come to this video in 2 years' time. So I don't think translating what you see here into the eBay site as you see it will be an issue. So let's get started. First of all, if you want to sell, of course you need an account. To get set up with an account is quite straightforward. At this time, to sell, you need a credit card and bank account on file so eBay can check your identity and take selling fees, because when you sell, you pay eBay fees. That's the primary way that eBay makes its money. So, let's sell. Right. First of all, you need to choose a category, and you can do that by putting in some words here. Things to search for that are relevant to what you're selling. But let's initially browse by categories, and you'll see how this works. You can put your item into one category, or actually you can even put it into two categories. Let's say, for example's sake, that we're selling a DVD that we have, DVDs, and as you can see, as you click on categories, you get into subcategories and even deeper. So when we select DVDs, let's say for example we choose comedy, and there are even more options. Let's say family comedy. And okay, that's the final category. You can't go any deeper. Here you see the specific category number is 93599. When we're happy with that, we click on Save and Continue. As an alternative, let's take a look at recently used categories. In this example, there are no recently used categories because this is a new account. But if you'd run auctions previously, the categories you would have chosen then would display here. Actually, let's search for categories now. Let's enter some relevant keywords. And let's say I'm going to sell a Tom Jones music CD. Let's try to keep things pretty specific and search. And as you can see, it's brought back a whole bunch of categories. Music, CDs, pop, 1990s, music CDs, other CDs. If you scroll over, the system gives you what it thinks are the most relevant. The top ones are apparently the most relevant. So that might be quite helpful. In our example, I'll just go with easy listening, vocal. Okay. And if you want to double check, you can view sample listings. Okay, save and continue. Interestingly, on this screen is all this kind of pop-up. So I can find the specific album by entering specific information from the album. Alternatively, if I close that, I can just describe the album directly. That pop-up was specific to music CDs, by the way. Okay, so what are we selling? Music CDs, easy listening, vocal. Pre-filled item information. I didn't do that in this instance, but if I want to bring the pop-up back, I just click the link and this pop-up appears again. Let's close that again. Okay, we need to include a title for our auction. Now, just before I do that, it's worth mentioning that these options will be different depending upon which category you're selling to, what sort of item you're selling, and so on. For example, let's look at genre, and it lists all the options. Of course, these wouldn't be relevant if you're selling a PC, so these options will be different depending on the product you're selling. Okay, title. Actually, I just clicked there And we see some text here on the right to help me through the process. This will be on every auction, and it's basically what it says. It's the title of your auction. What's important here is that you want to make it tempting. This is the first thing that people browsing or searching for items see. They see the title. So it has to be interesting. But actually, more importantly, or at least as importantly, it has to have keywords. You want it to have keywords that people are searching for. So, what are people searching for if they're looking to buy a Tom Jones CD? Well, common sense would dictate that they're searching for Tom Jones. They may be searching for CD or music. A good thing to do, actually, is to look through your category before you launch your auction. What you can do is search for other Tom Jones CDs and see how many other auctions there are and see whether they're successful. Successful auctions will generally tell you that those auctions are being found. One of the problems on eBay is that you have to be found, and people find you generally by searching for the keywords that are in your title, typing and matching words that are in your title, or by browsing the category you're in. And I've seen far more people search than browse. Okay, title. Let's say Tom Jones, Music, CD. And we're running out of characters, as you can see. So, Tom Jones, Music, CD. And then I would probably put the title of the album here, and then you could say, for example, like new. Okay, for genre, we decided on easy listening. Vocalists, yes. Condition, okay, it's used, but I said like new up here. So let's say this is secondhand. Format, album. Compilation. Okay, and then you start getting presented with a multitude of options that eBay wants you to take up, and they all cost a little bit more. It's worth noting that I'm recording this on ebay.co.uk, so the figures are being presented in pounds sterling, which is, of course, the United Kingdom currency, but obviously when you do this yourself, you'll be presented with figures in US dollars or whatever's appropriate for you. First of all, there's an option for adding pictures, and I'll actually show you in a later video how to add pictures without paying any money to eBay. It's perfectly legitimate, you aren't doing anything underhanded, but you don't need to pay anything extra to include pictures. You can use the eBay function if you wish, but you really don't need to. Okay, Gallery Display. Displays a picture in search results to help buyers find your item. And that's 15 pence extra, which at this time is about 30 cents US extra. So you can use a picture with your search results if you wish, but let's choose no. Okay, description. This is text, the main body of your auction. So let's start filling in the description. And actually, I'm going to make slightly more room by closing this help window. Okay, that makes things a bit clearer. So as you can see, you have two options. You can work in either standard or HTML format, and HTML is the language of web pages. For example, on any web page, if you go to View and Page Source, you get a lot of code, and this is the behind-the-scenes code, and this is the code that creates web pages. If you aren't currently familiar with this, you don't necessarily need to become familiar with it for running eBay auctions. However, I recommend that you do become familiar with HTML because effectively everything you do online involves it. But as I said, it isn't necessary in this instance. So if you're comfortable with HTML, you can go to the HTML tab and you can add code. For example, my HTML code goes here. However, let's delete that and go back to standard. We can instead create an auction visually using this functionality. So let's start with a headline. Let's say Tom Jones CD, and no specific CD for this example. And then you'd enter your description. So let's just say, for example, this great music CD is like new. It includes the tracks And then what you want to do is select. It's like Microsoft Word. You can change the font, you can change the size, you can make it bold, make it underlined, select it, and center it. And next, okay, this great music CD is like new. It includes the tracks, and now we can say track title 1, track title 2, track title 3, and so on. Then if you select these and put them in bullets, you can see how it's coming together. If it interests you to see it in HTML view, you can see the HTML code that makes up what we just created. However, if we just go back to standard view, that's how it looks. So let's move on. Next is visitor counter. If you want people to be able to see how many visitors you've had to your auction, you can choose basic style or retro computer style, or you can have hidden style, so only you can see how many people have visited your auction, and the counter number appears at the bottom of the auction. Importantly then, there's starting price. You have a number of options for the starting price. Some people advocate starting with a very low price, for example 99 cents or $1. Now, there's also the issue of the reserve price, having a reserve price. And the reserve price is the minimum the auction item can sell for, and if the reserve isn't met, the item doesn't sell. For example, let's say you're selling something expensive, so you could have a reserve of $200, but a starting price of $1. And the benefit of having a low starting price is that it helps grab people's attention, and they're more likely to bid. Or you could have a starting price that's the same as the price you want to sell at. It might work, or it might not work. And there are a number of other options too. Of course, one very important thing to do is just to pay attention to what other people in your category are doing and what seems to be working. So let's say we're going with a starting price of 0.99. That's 99 pence in this example since we're doing this at eBay UK. Then quantity is 1, and then no charity selected. Then duration. Options are 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, or 10 days. The benefit of a longer auction is that more people see it. The disadvantage is that it takes longer to get your money. So that's something to think about. But let's put this one at the 10-day auction. Next is payment options. Do you accept PayPal for payment or not? I'd say that it's a good idea if you do because people generally are very comfortable paying with PayPal, and it's a very common way of paying for auctions. So let's leave it as yes, and you enter your PayPal email address in there, and additional payment methods are personal check, other see item description, or credit card. But let's just stay with PayPal in this instance. Okay, postage. How much does it cost to mail within your country, the domestic cost? Let's say £2. And combined postage discounts? No combined postage discounts. I'll come to that at a later stage. Item location, that's just where you're based. And save and continue. Okay, we're now on the next screen, where we promote and review our listing. If you want to edit your listing, you can just click on Edit Listing or go back, but let's move forward with this example. Now you can see that this is where the costs can start adding up, and where it all starts eating into your profits. Do you want a gallery picture, which is to add a small version of your selected picture to search results? Yes or no? And it's an extra 15 pence, which is around 30 cents, but check your local eBay for your costs. Then there's Gallery Plus, and you see that's almost £1. So this displays a larger picture in search results when the buyer's mouse is over enlarge. I wouldn't say that's very useful really, but you may disagree. Subtitle. I found this quite useful actually. This is a title below the main title that appears in the listings. It's not that much more, and I believe it can give quite a bit of extra visibility to your auction. So if we tick that, and what can be a subtitle to our Tom Jones CD? Let's pick some other relevant topics such as 10 great tracks, fast shipping, or even 10 great tracks, immediate shipping. Do we want it bold in the listings? Let's say no. Do we want it highlighted in the listings? Let's say no. That's quite expensive actually. As you look through the listings, you'll see exactly what all these options are. Okay, let's continue on down. And this is how the listing currently looks. There's our title, Tom Jones Music CD, like new, and the subtitle, 10 great tracks, immediate shipping, and PayPal, starting price 99 pence, postage £2. Okay, let's keep going. Preview your listing. This is a quick snapshot of how your listing is going to look. If I click on Preview, we get a preview pop-up, and this is how it's going to look to people visiting. There's our title and our subtitle, starting bid, postage costs, history, 0 bids, meet the seller, which is more information about the seller. Okay, item specifics, music CD, easy listening vocalists, condition used, and album, and here's our description, Tom Jones CD, so you can see how it all comes together. Now, if you click on Listing in Search Results, it shows you how it's going to look in the search results. There's our auction, Tom Jones Music CD, and there's some of our potential competition. And you can see how the selling options you've chosen compare to your competition. And it shows you how it looks if you untick Subtitle. See, the subtitle disappears. If we tick on Bold, it becomes bold, or not. If we highlight, or not. So that's how you can preview your auction. Let's close this preview. So we've previewed it, and if we're happy with that, finally, fees. Insertion fee is 5 pence in this example, and it might be slightly more or less for you depending on your currency or which eBay you're using. And subtitle adds quite a lot comparatively, and the total is 40 pence. Now, importantly, if your item sells, you will be charged a final value fee based on a percentage of the final sale price. So basically, eBay charges you when you list the auction and also at the end of the auction if it's successful. Okay, I've opened up the final value fees page, and here's how much they take. Item not sold, no fee. In this currency, pounds sterling, from 1 pence to 29.99 pounds, they charge 5.25% for the amount of the high bid. Then here, it's that 5.25%, then 3.25% of everything above 30 pounds, and it goes on. So if you're happy with all that, then you can choose to save it as a template, which I do suggest if you're going to sell a lot of the same or similar items, but in this instance, let's not save it as a template, and then I would list the item. Since this is just an example, I'm not going to list it, of course, since in fact it doesn't exist, but you can see that's the process for getting an auction up and running. So it can take a little while, and what you really want to keep in mind is if you're just selling bits and pieces, some items from around the house, or maybe items you've purchased from garage sales or flea markets or wherever, and you've chosen to sell them on eBay, if you're just selling single items, then you need to do the whole listing process each time, and you can see that it takes quite a while. So, how much is your time worth? That's a question worth thinking about. If it takes you a half hour to type up a description for a CD that you sell for $5, that may not be the best use of your time. So what you really want to keep in mind, and what we're going to go into in more depth in later videos, is that if you want to grow a long-term, sustainable, and profitable eBay business, you want to have access to a product that you can sell again and again and again. You set up the listing once, and you use that listing many times, or even a number of times concurrently, for selling your item to a number of different customers. And it not only makes your work less, but increases your profits.